Welcome to this unboxing of the new Wrestling Heels and Faces Zombie Sailor releases. And I tell you what, I'm pretty excited about these. I absolutely love collecting the figures from the late 80s, early 90s, the ones that fit in with my Hasbro collection. And these are four that as a kid I absolutely wanted. And it's just great to see them made. Let's see what they're like, shall we? Well, let's look at the packs first. There is a Doctor of Style himself, Slick. Packaging's good. They go for a sort of cartoon look rather than photos on there. I quite like the design of that. Have a look at the back, and again a very retro feel, even down to the barcode. Gives you an idea of some of the other figures. I've got a King Kong Bundy. I'd really like to get a one-man gang. I didn't. One of the things about these, and I've said it before, is the cost of them. They are certainly here in the UK at a high price point, but to be honest with that, I expect them to be high quality, and that is their selling point, that they are detailed, highly finished figures designed by toy legend, the guy, as I understand it, who worked on the WWF action figures. So let's pop Slick open, shall we? Let's do them one at a time. Try and do it without wrecking the backing, although, oh, tell you what, there's no problem with that falling off. I better get my finger in. And around it goes. Let's put the card to one side and let's get the big man out. Okay, and there is Slick. Now I've said before, and look, you know, if you watch my reviews, generally I'm pretty positive because I'm really excited that people are making these figures. Sorry, trying to get that focus there. There's one or two series of the WWE Mattels that I've been less than impressed by, but generally speaking, the Zombie Sailor figures I've really liked so far. This is quite a lightweight one. Doesn't feel quite as heavy as some of the earlier releases, but then that's a nice detail. Look, it's got good soft material for the jacket. I like that. And you can see the paint on the feet. Good detail on the tie. Get a close-up of that face, shall we? Quite pleased with that. Got a little bit of a mark on the side, but you know, down to the jewellery. Oh look, I wasn't expecting that. Slightly unfortunate head, but at least his hat comes off. Slightly strange design that his hat comes off and then his head. It's like a sort of ancient Roman villa. Pop that back on. Oh, yeah. Really good details. I say it feels slightly more lightweight than the others, but it doesn't really matter. You know, a figure I've always wanted. Yeah. Is it a good one? Yeah. Really pleased with that. And the cost of it, I'm saying, you know, it is a higher price point. I look at that and I think, in relative to what I'm prepared to pay, I think they deliver. I think that has delivered. Let's go on to the President, shall we? There he is, old Jack Tunney. It's one of those figures I always want. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it now. I suppose take photos with it. That's what I do with all my collection. As a kid, I would have absolutely loved these. It's funny, isn't it? The Hasbros were the only line that didn't have managers and referees. You think, you know, before them with the LJNs and after them with Jacks. There's the design. 6'2", 240 pounds. Love that, love that. Even got the signature on there, proper old style. I mean, that's a card I'm sort of tempted to keep, because when are we going to get another Jack Tunney figure in our lifetime? Be surprised if we ever see another one. So, quite a one-of-a-kind piece. Who knows, might be wrong, but... And there's the big man himself. Lovely detail there, really lovely 90s suit. Similar. Now, are we seeing, here's a thing, mass production? Looks like it, doesn't it? Looks to me like, well, that's a similar figure that's been painted. I mean, do you know what? That's what they did with all the others, is what they did with the Hasbros, but it's interesting, isn't it? They're not original parts. There's no need for them to be, is there? You know, it's a 90s suit. It works nicely. Just interesting, isn't it? Head swap there. And there's Jack's head. He looks like he's had a bad night, doesn't he? Yeah, it looks like he's had a hard time there. But he always looked pretty serious and pretty unimpressed with life, so I think it's a pretty good likeness. The finish on that suit's quite nice. It's got a sort of 90s pattern on it. I don't know if you can see that. I don't think that's by accident. And you can see the nice, again, 80s, 90s design on that. I'm pleased with that, and okay, head moves. There's no spring action with these, but they, you know, they do move. All the body parts move, and again, if it's a question of recycling body parts, that's how you make action figures. I can cope with that. Big Herc. Now here is somebody who we've wanted an action figure of for years and years and years. Someone who just never gets made. The LJN, I had him for a bit, and finally I've got a Hercules. And of course, the thing about this one is, yeah, I can use my Power and Glory figures for photographs, but we can take that t-shirt off. Hopefully we can use him for some 80s shots as well. Must have. For me, it's all about making the big 80s Survivor Series teams, and it's fine when you've got, oh no, I can't get a finger in, I'm going to lose my backing. I like to try and keep the picture intact, you see. Sorry, you've got Savage, you've got $1 Million Man, you've got Hulk Hogan, but to fill in those Survivor Series teams, you need your Dino Bravos, and you need Paul Koo, and you need Hercules, and my word, I would have killed for those figures when I was a little boy. Nice soft goods t-shirt. Power and Glory are funny, aren't they? They sort of, oh dear, I've made a mess of that, haven't I? They're a funny team. They sort of stay in the memory, but they were only around for really a short period as a team. But it's that era, isn't it? There's a lot of things you can say that about in the early 90s. Things that just hit at the right spot. I mean, 91, when things were starting to die off in America, that's when things started to get really big here in the UK. So Power and Glory are one of those teams that everybody of my generation in the UK, certainly those who still like wrestling now. Like a loose head there, but it's okay. They do feel, as my imagination, they do feel slightly lighter than the first series. I don't know whether that's to do with production costs or what. Doesn't make any difference. It still looks good. They've got that sheen, and that's the thing that really makes them stand out to me, the fact that they've got that Hasbro style sheen. Good detail on there. Right, take his t-shirt off. Shall we risk it? Yeah, let's go for it. Oh, there he is. Wrap a chain around him. Oh, that's a nice detail. Movable hands. I didn't notice that. Oh, that's good. When you're trying to do the press slam, you can adjust those hands in place. Oh, I like that a lot. He's got a wobbly head, but maybe just very intense. I don't think it's not going to come off, is it? Let's not test that, eh? There's Big Herc. And finally, Paul Roma. And I think it's fair to say, as a kid, perhaps wasn't clamouring quite as much for a Paul Roma figure. But you know what? Again, he's of a generation. If I want to make every version of the Four Horsemen, I'm going to need a Paul Roma. There is a Buff Bagwell figure coming out, I think, isn't there? They were a team for a time. I'm not dreaming that. They were a team for a time in WCW, weren't they? Feel free to put something in the comments about that. Update me on my wrestling history. It's amazing the things you forget the older you get, isn't it? Right, let's pop the man out. I'm assuming he's going to be very similar to Herc. I mean, I think that's a pretty good likeness. That's a pretty good Paul Roma figure, I think. I mean, you say, who is that? Okay, he's got his name across his stomach, but apart from that, who's that, everybody? It looks like Paul Roma to me, which is all you can ask for. He's got the twisty hands too. Big fists, nice sheen, detail on the tights. Okay, there's no spring action again with these. I don't really care about that. And again, I think it's all about what we expect. I want them to look like Hasbro's, I want them to fit with my Hasbro's, and I want them to look sort of relatively professionally made, and I want them to look like, you know, to some extent, even if it's cartoon versions of the people they're supposed to be. And I think Zombie Sailor get all those things right. I really, really, really wanted these figures when I saw them announced, and they don't disappoint. Really pleased with those.